All right, I am giving a little review, 2-year owner review on my 2004 W209 CLK55 AMG. I bought it right at under 100,000, and currently it sits at 130, almost 133. Is my daily driver. Sorry, car's a little mess right now. I'm packing. I gotta drive back up to college today, about 250 miles. So, as you know, if you know these engines, I'm missing a engine cover right there. It's at my apartment. So after 2 years of owning this car, I will say the engine, for the most part, is pretty bulletproof. I've had to get the valve covers resealed 3 times. I've done it 3 times. 2 times I had a shop do it, and the second time they did it, after 2 months, it started leaking again. So me and a friend decided to reseal them back in June last summer. It's almost been a year now, and valve covers are still doing great. Just recently, the motor mount on the driver's side was shot, so we replaced both of the mounts on those. If you saw that video on my TikTok, it blew up, of the engine practically jumping out of the engine bay. Yeah. Holy. Other things I've had to replace, the oil filter slash cooler housing, or oil filter housing slash oil cooler. I came back from a trip after not starting it for a week, and the seals rock hard, so it started leaking oil. It took about 30 minutes. Idler pulley's been changed. Everything coolant related has been changed. All hoses, upper, lower, radiator, water pump. Pretty much the only thing that hasn't been swapped out or renewed is the reservoir and the inlet or outlet for the reservoir. Had to do the drive belt, as for some reason, I don't know what happened when I think when I redid my water pump, when me and my friend, we fucked around a lot and we forgot to put this bracket. So it sat for a good few months right on the belt and actually started shredding the belt. And so I replaced that, the belt. It took me, I couldn't find any forums on what size belt exactly, so I will show you which belt I used. Doesn't say right there. Used, yeah, that's the size that I used right there. So yeah, that belt. Some other things that are currently not working are, I have a problem with my power steering system. I don't know if it's the actual pump itself or if it's one of the lines that is bursted, but I do have fluid leaking. Not much anymore because there's really none in there. Let's see what else is not. I do have a vacuum leak. As you can see, these air hoses right here, these vacuum hoses, there's a couple that are just so brittle and they've broken off. And I mean, there's so many of these hoses. So I mean, if I want to fix it, I'll fix it, but it's not really throwing in a misfire or anything. It's just for the secondary air injection system that this car has. So, other modifications I've done, I redid the lenses on the taillights as they were really yellowed and foggy. It's been almost a year since I did that, and they still look really, really good. No yellowing. I've also lowered the car on H&R lowering springs. I think it was about an inch and a half, inch and a quarter all around. The front could go a little lower in my opinion, but I think the rear sits really well. I also have 15 millimeter spacers right here, which I'm eventually gonna move those up to the front to make the front flush. And I'm gonna install some 25 or 30 millimeter hub-centric spacers to get that perfect flush fitment, because as you can see, it sticks inside a little bit. So for engine bay stuff, that's pretty much it. The motor, the insides, the internals have been spectacular. Anytime I've taken off the valve covers and just taken a look at the valves, everything has looked really good. So for overall, I mean, this engine itself is a pretty reliable engine as long as you stay up to date with your maintenance and whatnot. However, outside of the engine, there are a lot of problems that I would like to go over. I'm gonna keep that popped for now. So, obviously this car is 20 plus years old, so a lot of the electrical components do not work. Let me put the keys in the ignition so you guys can see here. I'm currently diagging most of the stuff. Like one of them is the stock. I got a faulty stock I got to replace. See, as you can see, that'll come on, but to actually keep them on, it doesn't. Same thing with the windshield wipers. The automatic settings don't work. Obviously the car's not on, but seat heaters, mine do not work. I don't know, there could be a lot of different things. It could be the switch. It could be the actual carbon heating mat that's underneath the seat. And so one way you can check to make sure if it is that is you can check the resistance on the heat pad. And what else is not working in here? There's a couple of like little quirks and features that, you know, just don't really work. The seat, pneumatic, whatever they're called. Some of them work. Like as you can hear, this one just moves air, but that one does work. But some of them don't. So I'm assuming it's just some hoses that have been brittle and they've broken off. So that's not too hard of a fix. One thing I did do custom was I redid my headliner and I added some stars in there. I don't know, I've always thought this was really cool. And it was decently cheap and only took about a weekend with some buddies, mostly me though. And yeah, it looks really cool. We did kind of half-ass a couple things. I don't know if you'll be able to see it up here. Maybe not, but it's a little tear right here. And you know, it's not perfect, as you can see. This is my first time ever doing this, but it was a learning experience and it was fun and it looks really cool. So, and I'll show you how I wired that if I can. I have some stuff in my trunk, so I'm not too sure if I'll be able to. You can kind of see the light back there, but right back behind here, there is a fuse box. And what I did was I just tapped in through the seat control fuse. So these controls, the fuse for that is in the fuse box back here. And you tap that in, and there's also a ground right over there, and you just tap in the ground there, and then you got power. So yeah, there's my skid plates. I haven't put those on in a while. Let's see, I did change the brakes, the rotors and pads, everything other than hardware. I went with some drilled and slotted all around. Stops on a dime now. Yeah, look at the clearance on my caliper right here. This is why I need the spacers. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but I have maybe a millimeter of clearance. As you can see, prior, the wheel was scraping the caliper. So that's why I need to get those spacers up front. But the rear spacers are like $200, $250, and I can't justify spending $250 on some spacers. So, but overall, this car is pretty reliable. I'll give you that. I'm trying to think of other issues I've had. I've had a key issue. The main key, the entire computer in it just stopped working. It wouldn't recognize my car. So now I just currently use my backup, as I don't really want to try and figure out how much a new key is going to be. So, oh, and another thing that does not work in this car, my HVAC system, my AC. It is, I'm pretty sure there's a leak somewhere. I gotta hook up a manifold gauge and I gotta do some testing. Either way, I have this mode door for this does not work. So even if I have it on, say, the front, only the fronts, this bottom one near my leg will constantly run. So I gotta switch that door out. I've got an actuator that when I start, it clicks. You'll be able to hear that. Maybe. Yeah, there it goes. So I got like some sort of actuator. Maybe one of the gears is all fucked up. It's probably all plastic, but one thing I do not like about the CLKs is once you take off this dash, to service any HVAC or anything, you know, relating to underneath the dash, it is a nightmare. It is a wiring nightmare. I've seen some pictures and it honestly terrifies me, just the amount of harnesses there are. So, yeah, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get to that anytime soon. Because, I mean, my evap, that's one thing I'm worried about. I'm worried that it is seized, as there hasn't been any refrigerant in there for a long time. So I'm really hoping that it still will work if I ever do get it refilled and I don't have to swap that out. But if I want to change any of the doors, I'm definitely gonna have to take the dash off, which is unfortunate. I'm honestly just trying to think of what other things you should be aware of. I mean, if you're looking for one of these cars, I bought mine for $7,500, but it also came with these sets of wheels on the side. Originally, it had some 19 blacks, which I didn't like. Plus, they were way too big. They were rubbing the wheel liner anytime I took a turn. So I swapped those out for these ones. Plus, I think the silver looks better with silver on silver instead of silver on black. Trying to think what else, man. It's a great car. I mean, I love it. It does definitely run through gas, especially with how gas prices are nowadays. So if you are someone that doesn't want to spend a lot of money on a car, don't get this. That's another thing. I would not recommend getting any older Mercedes or BMWs, any older German cars for matter, if you are not slightly mechanically inclined. Like if you can't do some simple things, I would not get it, because a simple fix like my motor mounts, but the motor mounts themselves, the parts, I got some off-brand ones, not OEM, so they were about 150, 200 for the set, plus hardware and the tool that I needed to get that driver's side bolt out. You needed a certain fucking thing. But I called the shop just to get a quote because my shop wasn't open. I wasn't at my school. It was break, so I couldn't go in and get it done. So I called and got a quote. I got quoted $1,400 with $1,200 of that being labor. They quoted a 5 to 6 hour ticket time. And these two motor mounts, me and my two friends, we got them out in about an hour, with probably 15 minutes of us being stupid on the manifold bolts. So, and all in all, it really, if you have you and your buddy and you know what you're doing, it's gonna take you about an hour. To swap the motor mounts, all you gotta do is you gotta drop the exhaust, loosen up the mounts, and lift the motor. That's literally all you gotta do. Super easy. So you would save a lot of money if you do stuff yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be putting a lot, and I mean a lot of money into this car if you don't do most of the fixes yourself. If I didn't do any of these fixes myself, I'd probably be well over 10 grand just in fixes by now. So, and I mean, you gotta think of that as money I've saved doing it myself, probably well over 8 grand in labor and fees and all that. But other than that, yeah, it's a very nice car for the price, for what I got it at. It's got good torque. I still haven't gotten it tuned after all these years. I do have somewhat of an exhaust setup. I'm running just my primaries right now. I'm soon to get long tube headers. I'll get some long tubes that come for the M113K, so like the E55 and CL55. And I've heard you can actually fit them pretty well on the NA M113. Other than the driver's side, you might have to dent the primary a tad bit just to get it to fit, but it's not going to affect flow that much. So yeah, I'd say that's practically the review of my CLK55. Very nice car. Still, the paint's pretty good still. So, but yeah, like I said, very nice car. If you are going to get one, just be prepared to spend money on fixes if you don't know what you're doing yourself. But that kind of goes for every single older German car. And if you don't know that, then you're kind of getting yourself in a pickle here. So yeah, if you guys have any questions on, you know, anything that I've done, any processes, like how to do what, or how I, you know, set up the Starlight headliner, all that. If anyone has any questions, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer them or give any advice that I might be able to help out with. So yeah, make sure you guys like, and thank you guys for checking us out.